Welcome to today's SSF Career Chat on exploring self-employment options. I'm excited to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. John Solomos, who is founder and CEO of Bluebird IT Solutions. John started this business, which he has grown from a one-man show to a business that employs 40 full-time employees and 10 subcontractors. It has grown from zero revenues to millions of dollars in revenue. It started as a no-name company to one that is listed in Maclean's top 500 companies in Canada 4 years in a row, and twice in Globe and Mail's top 300 companies. John is here to share with us his personal journey into self-employment, and I hope that you will all get inspired by his journey and success, and realize that you can do it too.
My father always wanted me to be a lawyer, and so I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. I knew that I liked business. When I was in high school, my father bought me a car, and it cost roughly $6,000. And I turned around and sold it for $12,000. And then I bought a better car, and I sold it bought it for $12,000, and then I sold it for $14,000. And I worked my way up to a $20,000 car. So there was something in me that just loved doing business and thinking and making money and trying to get what I wanted in life through some sort of entrepreneurial spirit. But I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. So in university, I was aiming to be a lawyer. And then when I graduated, I was working. I did some internship with a lawyer, and I wasn't quite happy. I didn't want to. I declined my offer to Osgoode Hall Law School and decided I don't want to do this. But one thing that I did learn was what I call the gas price theory. And so it occurred to me in university. I had a late class on Monday nights, and I'd be driving home. And every Monday night, I'd look, and the gas station near my house would have lineups of cars waiting to get gas. And I'd look at the price, and I'd say, hey, look, it's $1.10, let's just say, right? And people are lining up for gas. And I said, okay. So then I noticed the next Monday, same thing. People are lining up. And then I looked around and I noticed that on Monday night, gas is typically cheaper than it is on other nights. But a strange thing occurred. Several weeks had passed with me observing this. And I'm driving home one day on a Thursday, and I noticed that the gas price from $1.10 is around 97 cents. And it's a huge decrease, but there's no lineup. So I'm thinking, why aren't people lining up to get gas when it's, 10, 15 cents cheaper than it would normally be? And that's when I came up with the gas price theory. People, when they want or need something, don't care about the cost of stuff, as long as they feel like they're getting a good deal. And so what I realized was, because people felt like they were getting a good deal on Mondays, they didn't care what they were paying for the gas. But it was cheaper than it was the day before, and it was cheaper than it was most other days. But when the gas went down to 97 cents, people weren't lining up. And that's when, what I call the gas price theory. And I've applied that to sales. So after university, I decided not to become a lawyer. And a cousin of mine worked at Dell. And we went out for a birthday party. Now, I've loved technology my whole life. I've played with computers. I built them. I did a whole bunch of stuff around that as a child. And they said, hey, we need some people. Why don't you come and apply, get a job here? And I did. And I really started my career working at Dell Computers. And I was able to work my way up pretty quickly within that organization. And I was simply applying the gas price theory. What I did in those days, just to give you a working example of this, was people would call in, they'd want to order a computer. I'd take them on the Dell website, go through some of the computer configurations with them and say, hey guys, look, this is what the price is. Let's just figure out what you need and what you want. Don't worry about the price. Let's just first figure out what it is exactly that you need. And so we'd go through that, and then we'd get, to the end of the conversation, and then I'd give them a bit of a discount, and they would be super thrilled, and they would decide to purchase. And this technique worked really well. But what people really want at the end of the day is value, specifically for stuff that they want and they need. As I progressed with my career at Dell, I had some great milestone achievements there. I worked there for just over 4 years, but every year that I worked there, I was the top-ranked sales representative in North America, and I attribute that to the way I thought about stuff. Obviously, customer service was very important to me, but And I got promoted, and I was the first sales representative in Canada to work in the acquisitions department. And so I got into there where before people would call into Dell and you would just place orders. When I got into acquisitions, it was more of an aggressive approach where you're going after new business. And I started in the small and medium business space. And because of that success, they took me and they put me in the public sector, where at that time Dell was having some challenges growing. And we emulated that success in that department as well. And I was, while I was training new hires in the sales department as it was growing, somebody received a phone call. And they said, John, I'm not sure I handle this call. I said, what's the issue? He says, well, someone's calling from the government, a nonprofit organization called Ontario MD, and they want our advice on what computers to recommend to doctors. I said, okay, great. Pass the call. Let me see what they need. I talked to the gentleman that called from Ontario MD, and basically, like I said, they wanted us to recommend what type of computers doctors should be using. And I knew right then and there that they're going to start offering grants for doctors to get off of paper. A light went off in my head. The next morning, I went and I incorporated Bluebird. I knew exactly what it was that I wanted to do. I wanted to be a part of revolutionizing Canadian healthcare and becoming a part of that trend. And I saw a huge opportunity where I can kind of do what I love, which is like sales and being an entrepreneur and technology, and kind of bring that all together. And I had some commitments with Dell, and when that ended, I wanted to go full force, and that's how I met Juliet. I enrolled in the Seneca Entrepreneurial Business Program, and when I got there, I was very ambitious, and I wanted to do, okay, you know what? I don't want to just do medical. I want to do, lawyers and everybody, and help them transition off paper charts and become electronic. And Juliet, I thank you for this. But Juliet says, John, pick one and be the best at it. And I said, okay, well, it's healthcare. That's really what I want to do. And so that's where we worked on the business plan, and that's kind of where Bluebird began to, where it was really, really born. With that, I want to use that as a segue into, the 7 basic stages. So you want to take note of these 7 things that a new business goes, and I'll explain why those 7 things become critical later on in the development and the maturity of your organization. So when you start a business, like most things in life, it starts with an idea. So the first step is come up with an idea. And in this case, when you're looking at business, you want, again, going back to the gas price theory, something that is, there's a need for it, and there's value, where you're going to create a needs and value for a specific product or services. So your idea has to kind of fulfill that. There's a lot of great ideas out there, but if there's no need or value in the marketplace, I can guarantee you it's not really going to take off. You really want to have needs and value. So that's the first thing. Again, it starts with an idea, right? When we're talking about ideas, like in my case, the more specific it is, the more dedicated it is, the more special, the more special it is towards a specific segment or whatever it is you want to tackle, and you create that niche, the more valuable it's going to be. But again, you always got to make sure that it's something that people need and that it provides value. So you have this great idea, you want to get into the market, you satisfy the needs and values. Then the next step is you got to communicate that, okay? So the next step is communication. And an example of this is, let's say you're at a party and someone says, what are you doing? Well, in my case, I'd say, listen, I'm doing IT for doctors. They say, okay, great. I know some doctors, give me a business card. Well, if you haven't created business cards, you don't have a phone number or a website, you can't really communicate what it is you're going to do. So you have this idea. The second step is be able to communicate what it is, prepare for that. Once you have that in mind, the third stage is actually selling. You got to sell it. So you got to sell what it is that you're creating. Once you do that, the fourth stage is finance. Now you got to figure out, okay, I'm selling a service. How am I going to pay people to do this? Or I'm selling products. Where am I going to get the money to do that? And in some cases, people don't necessarily, they might not have money to start a new business. One of the things you can do is, with your first sale, you could say, okay, look, give me 50% up front to cover your expenses, and then, they pay the rest once you deliver it. And so that step 3 is finances. Sorry, 4, finances. Okay, when you get to, so you got your idea, you got to communicate that. Okay, then you do your sales. Step 4 is finances. You get to step 5. Step 5 is the production of the product or the delivery, right? So now you've made a sale. You've got maybe a deposit up front. Now you got to make sure you deliver your product. Okay, you got to deliver your service or your product, and you got to do it in a high quality, in high quantity. Okay. Once you do that, you get to step 6. Step 6 is the quality control. So once you've delivered this product, you got to look back and say, okay, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? And you're continuously improving that item and reflecting, right? Then you get to the final stage, which is, the customer satisfaction. You're going to get more leads. You're going to get people coming towards you when your customers are happy. Okay, and it's very important. But all of these things flow. So as a recap, you got your first idea, then you communicate that idea, then you sell that idea, you figure out your finances, you deliver the product. Okay, and then 7, you got to make sure that you're doing 6, quality control, and 7, you're making sure your customers are happy. As the company matures, those 7 stages end up becoming the departments within your organization. So when you go back to the first one, you're thinking, okay, first I had this idea. Well, for your company to succeed, you got to keep creating new ideas, new products, right? And that normally is what you would call your executive division, right? Where the CEO or the founder or the executive team is thinking, okay, what can we do next? What are we going to drive with the market? Then you move into the communications department. Now, when you become an organization, communications is a little bit different. That becomes eventually your HR department. That's where you're communicating your vision within your team, okay? And you're creating the administration of your organization. You're communicating your policies. You're communicating what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. You're hiring people and communicating what it is you need them to do within your organization. Now, then you get to the sales. This now becomes your sales and marketing department where you're doing your sales, and that's your sales team and your marketing team. Then you move over to your finance team, okay? So that would be the 4th stage. Then you move over into number 5, which is your productions and your services team. These are the people that are actually doing all the work. So they would be, in my case, my technicians, my people that are going into the field. Okay, once you get past that 6, that becomes your quality control department or division, right? And they're constantly looking at your processes, how to improve, how to make it faster, and improving how you guys are doing things and the service and the products that you're executing. And then finally, again, is you got to make sure that your customers are happy. You got to keep a pulse on all of that stuff. And that's really kind of the 7 basic stages of starting a new business. But again, you can see how that morphs into your divisions and how you organize your business. And it's very important that you keep that in mind. If you think about it, when someone says an organization, really what they're saying is organizing your business. You have to organize how it works, how people work together, how you communicate with each other. And when you follow those seven stages or 7 divisions, it really helps you stay on top of that. And it's really based on the flow of when you start your business and how it actually makes sense at any time as you grow. So for those of you who don't know, I'll tell you a little bit about what Bluebird is. We're an IT company that specializes in healthcare. Okay, so we support over 500 medical clinics across the country, ranging from a solo doctor with 1 receptionist and a couple computers to family health teams with hundreds of doctors up until some of the best-known hospitals in our country. We're unique in the sense that I don't think there's any other company that really does what we do. Okay, and I think we are the subject matter experts in Canada as far as what it takes to set up a clinic so that doctors can really focus on delivering patient care without having to worry about all their IT needs. And we're partners with the government. We're partners with the major software providers that actually create the software for doctors to use. And I would say 90% of our business has come strictly from referrals. And as Juliet mentioned at the beginning when she introduced me, our company has been, for the last 4 years, on Canada's top 500 fastest growing companies. And that's basically, coming to us from referrals, which means, we put a huge emphasis on customer satisfaction and really going above and beyond to make our customers happy. And if you're able to do that, especially starting out a new business, it will help you tremendously because you're not able to afford sales team. You're not, who knows how much money you have to invest in marketing and all of these things. Your biggest advocates, your biggest partners will be your clients. Use them as your sales team. Just do excellent work by them, keep them happy, and they'll help you grow your business. And I think, for the most part, we do it on time, Juliet. I'm good here. I'm happy to take questions and hopefully that gives you guys a picture. But as young entrepreneurs, I can tell you one thing. It's not easy. Okay, as Steve Jobs has said, a couple of people asked him, what does it take to be an entrepreneur? Well, and I agree with this, you have to be a little bit crazy because there's times where you're going to say, you know what, this isn't easy. I can get a job and, and it's, you leave work at 6 o'clock and your stress is gone and you enjoy your life. Being an entrepreneur, starting your own business, it's with you 24/7. It's not easy. You got to be a little crazy to do this and push forward and through the hard times. But what I can promise you, it's worth it. It's worth everything. And the amount of effort that you put into this is directly correlated to the success that you're going to have. So the amount of effort you put in will directly correlate to the amount of success you're going to have. But for those of you thinking about taking this path, I highly encourage you to do it. Believe in yourself. Trust in what you want to do, come up with a great idea, make sure there's needs and value of it in the marketplace, and you will do fantastic. I'm sure of it.
Thank you so much, John. That was excellent. Thank you very much for the key points that you mentioned. I like the way you laid it out in the 7-step process from thinking about the idea right through to, yes, you might start off as one person working the business, but it's always important to keep your eye on the vision, to keep your eye on where you're going. And if where you're going, you want to grow a business which will expand beyond self, it's always important to know who is it that you're hiring. And I am really excited that you laid it out very well from the point of conception right through to enlarging the business. Fantastic. Thank you. So if I may ask, so now we're going into the Q&A, and we'll have Darren moderate the Q&A. But as you're jotting down all your questions, let me ask John, what were your key success factors?
What were my key success factors?
Yes.
Okay, initially starting out, I think that in my case, aside from coming up with a strategic plan to go forward, in my case, there was this misconception that doctors have all this money. And so when we started doing IT for these doctors, they started to get this grant to convert from paper to electronic medical records. And IT companies, again, people had this misconception that doctors have all this money, and they were taking advantage of them. So when we went in there, we're like, whoa, you don't need all this stuff. You need this, right? And it costs 1/5 of what other people were charging. And because we were so honest and fair, they started recommending us. But really what helped us kind of propel was the government. It's like, well, who are these guys? Like everyone that uses them is happy, and their rates are like very fair and very honest. And then they just started referring us to all these doctors. So I think, to answer your question, Julia, just be honest, give a good product, be fair, and don't, one thing I always tell people, don't worry about the money. Just do a good job. Work hard and never worry about the money. I mean, obviously you got to worry about the money because how you're going to survive, but that shouldn't be your number one priority. And don't ever get into a business thinking, I want to do this to be rich or make money. You won't succeed. You got to really find something you believe in, something that adds value, something that's needed. And a byproduct of that will be affluence or success financially. And then you take that and you help other people with it. In my case, when I see new people coming into my organization, they're taking the bus at first. A year or two later, they're buying cars. A year or two later, they're putting down payments on new homes. And I can tell you that's more rewarding than any amount of money you can make. But, you know, at the core, just do a good job and all of that will take care of itself.
Thank you for watching. To keep up to date with everything the SSF does, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, we'll see you soon.